Hello everyone, and welcome to a new series of videos. For anyone who's been watching my channel, you'll know that I started a series of in-detail videos for my MGB. So now, having owned the XK8 for approaching a year, I thought now I know a little bit more about the car to start doing an in-detail series about the XK8. So this first one will be about the XK8 model history. The production was circa 10 years, so there's a fair amount to cover, and then I'll make subsequent videos about different parts of the car, so go more detail into the engine and drivetrain, the bodywork, suspension and brakes. The interior I may or may not do. I mean, I did do quite a detailed video on optional extras, so I covered a lot of that already, but maybe I'll combine some of them because some of the stuff didn't change too much over time. But this first one though, model history, let's get stuck in. Before we start, it must be said that a lot of the information I'm going to talk about today comes from this magazine book. So it was a one-off compilation of Jaguar World magazine articles into one publication called Jaguar XK8, a modern sporting icon. And I found this particular book invaluable when I was looking to purchase my XK8, because it covers all sorts of detailed differences between the different years of production, as well as the common faults on these cars. So things such as the Nickersill engine bore wear and timing chain tensioner failure and water pump failure as well. So if anybody's interested in actually buying an XK8, I can recommend that particular magazine / book. But for anyone, it's to do your research and make sure you're clued up before going to see one and avoid a potentially expensive mistake. The Jaguar XK8 was first unveiled at the Geneva Motor Show in 1996. The car was launched as a coupe and convertible, featuring a new all-alloy V8 engine with 32 valves, quad cams and two-stage variable valve timing. It also featured a rapid warm-up system and innovative Nickersill bore liners instead of steel liners to reduce weight. The car was wrapped in sleek bodywork, which had styling cues from the E-Type, and actually the car was penned to have been called the F-Type, but a change of sort of marketing decisions and that kind of stuff ended up with the car being called the XK8 because of the V8 engine. All of the cars came with automatic transmission, and there was no option for a manual. The power output for the XK8 was around 290 horsepower, and it was clear that the chassis could take more. In 1998, towards the end of the year, a new variant of the XK8 called the XKR was launched, which featured an Eaton supercharger that drove the power figures up to 370 horsepower. The differences between the XK8 and the XKR on the outside were the wheels and a boot lid spoiler, as well as vents in the bonnet to aid cooling. The XKRs all came with the CATS computer-aided suspension as standard, which helped the ride quality of the car when sort of pressing on, so it would stiffen up the dampers as you were driving enthusiastically. This was an option on the XK8. In 1999, the car received a few updates to the engine. So to meet more stringent emissions guidelines, the XK8 had a new model designation for the engine. So previously it was the AJ26, and it was now called the AJ27. And this was on account of, instead of a two-stage cam timing system, it was now continuously variable. Also, the cruise control had changed from a vacuum operated type to an electronically operated type. It's interesting that the XKR did not change engine model designation at this time and remained at AJ26 specification. In the year 2000, there was even more changes to the car, but more to do with the technology inside it. And I was actually surprised when looking up the model history for the XK8 that the adaptive cruise control and DVD-based satellite navigation were actually introduced in the year 2000 in this particular car. which is quite advanced technology for the time. I was surprised to hear that. I thought it coincided with the facelift or the changeover to the 4.2. But year 2000 were when those bits of technology came in, presumably to keep up with German rivals and that kind of thing. The other thing to note in year 2000 was that the XKR did then move up to the AJ27 specification engine to meet, like I said before, like more stringent emissions guidelines. In the same year, to mark Jaguar's entry into Formula One, they released a special edition of the XK8 called the Silverstone Special Edition. 50 coupes and 50 convertibles in platinum silver featured trim upgrades, so different sort of gear knob and leather trim options, as well as a special bonnet badge that said Silverstone on it. The interesting thing about this car is that the alloy wheels were BBS Detroit 20-inch items, and behind them were the Brembo brakes. This was the first time these had been used in the car and would actually go on to become the R Performance package. In 2001, the XK8 got its first visual enhancement in the form of updated rear lights, so kind of a dual effect rear light cluster and a chrome finisher on the boot lid. And up front, the bumper was redesigned to have more sort of fared-in style fog lights. Inside the car, there was a new technology for safety, and it was called Active Restraint Technology System, or ARTS or something like that, and it calculated the weight, size and position of the passenger so that it could deploy airbags more effectively. And this is why when you put something on the passenger seat that isn't a full-grown adult person, the airbag will quite often show a light to show that it's been deactivated. And certainly when I've had the car seat for my son in the front here, the airbag shows as deactivated. So it's quite clever at determining whether there's someone there or not. Other things that changed, the design of the seats also changed. So previously the seats were like a one-piece backrest, but with in 2001 it kind of became a separate headrest to the rest of the seat, and minor sort of trim differences for this model year. Also in 2001 there was a new variant of the XKR called the XKR 100. This is quite confusing because it's actually a range of 500 XKRs, but the 100 stands for 100 years since the birth of William Lyons. These cars were anthracite black with black interior with red stitching, and kind of had similar sort of a feel to the Silverstone that came the year before. These cars are quite highly sought after because they came with every conceivable extra. So the sombre sort of black inside with the black seats were kind of contrasted with the aluminium trim, which you see on some of these cars, and everything was there on the inside as well as the outside as well. So that R Performance package we mentioned earlier was standard on this car with the CATS electronic damping system as well. So the 2003 model year signifies probably the most significant mechanical change for the XK8 and XKR, and that was the move to the 4.2 litre engine. These engines upped the power from 290 horsepower in the XK8 to 300 horsepower, and in the XKR they now had 400 horsepower on tap. These engines were both fitted with a 6-speed ZF transmission, automatic transmission, whereas previously the XK8 had a 5-speed ZF and the XKR had a 5-speed Mercedes gearbox. The important thing to note about the 4.2 litre engine, as well as the sort of power hike, was that the weak point of the earlier engines, being the timing chain tensioners and water pump, were now updated so that they didn't disintegrate as quickly as they used to. The small differences for this 2003 model year were that the XKR now came with xenon headlamps as standard, and they were an option on the XK8. In 2003, to celebrate the XKR reaching 400 horsepower, which was a first for Jaguar in a sort of mass produced car, that they released a special edition called the X400. This was really just a collection of specific trim options. There's nothing really over and above what you could get as an optional extra for these cars. So you could spec up a car very similar to an X400, but these kind of just combined several options into one special edition. So in 2004, there was a further styling update. So where the sort of facelifted cars of 2001 had minor sort of nips and tucks here and there, the late 2004 cars had much more sort of drastic styling changes. So the XK8 and XKR both came with deeper front bumpers and air dams and things, as well as side sill extensions, and also the rear bumper was made bigger to match. The XKR now came with quad exhaust pipes as well, and the wheel designs changed as well to sort of complement the bodywork. The XK8 also came with a boot spoiler as standard. So 2006 was the final year of production for the XK8 and XKR X100, which was the sort of chassis code for these. Much had remained unchanged from the 2004 model year. The only difference was that the XKR was now called the XKR 4.2S, and some of the previous optional extras were now sort of standard features, such as the xenon headlights. There was also an upgraded Bluetooth phone system available as well. So 2006, being the sort of last year of production, saw the departure of the X100, and it was replaced by the X150, or simply the Jaguar XK. It was kind of sad to see this type of Jaguar go, I think, in 2006. I mean, Jaguar had to change direction to keep new customers interested, but I kind of see this car as probably one of the last of the sort of old school Jags with the wood and the leather and the slightly sort of old man image, which I think I actually quite prefer over the more sort of brash, aggressive styling that you see on some of the later cars. But that's just my opinion. So that's the model history for the XK8 and to some extent the XKR. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and once I've learnt a bit more about other features and components of these cars, I'll bring out more in detail videos in the future. So thanks very much for watching. I hope this has been interesting and useful for some people, and I'll be back again soon with more Jaguar related content. Bye.